Yeah, I'll tell you my version and Dad can tell you his version.
Okay.
Because that was kind of fun. I used to work at a really high-end department store in New Orleans called Rosemarie.
Okay.
And they put me on to work in the jewelry island, where you get off the bay of elevators, and that's the first thing you saw was the jewelry island. So this young lady.
So you were the draw, the main attraction.
Right there, in that little glass island of jewelry. And so you have to wear a black dress, or you could wear a black skirt with a white blouse, but they preferred you to wear a black dress. So I had my little basic black dress. A young lady named Monya Kay, and she worked in the advertising department. And I was facing the elevators at the time she got off of the elevator. And she came up to me and she said, "You are absolutely gorgeous."
Nice.
You have to go on.
Continue. Well, now, you know,
like
I'm kind of like a deer, you know, with the headlights, because I was like, what? And she said, "I am the sweetheart of such and such a fraternity, and the guys would just love you. Are you married, engaged, or have a boyfriend or anything like that?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, we need to exchange phone numbers because I know the guys would just love to date you, blah, 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 blah." Because she's very vocal about, very demonstrative about how she talked. So I gave her my number. Never heard from her, never heard from anybody.
And
I grew up in a very small town in Ohio, Beach City. We can stay at the Q over on Lake Pontchartrain, and he said, "I got a book with girls down there, and I'll make a date and have her find you a girl." So we did that.
And I then got a job at the New Orleans airport as a ticket agent at the airport for Southern Airways. So I have my Monday off, and I go to the big department store in New Orleans on Canal Street to go shopping. And I'm going up the up escalator of Maison Blanche. She's coming down the down escalator, and she sees me. "Rosemarie!"
And she remembered your name right off.
Yes.
Wow.
Go up, stay up there, I'm coming to see you. And so I stayed up there, and the first thing out of her mouth was, "You have a car, don't you?" And I said, "Yes." And she says, "Well, I have a date with a second lieutenant to go to a military ball in Biloxi, Mississippi. Would you like to go? Because he has a roommate." And I said, "Well, I've never been to Biloxi, and I've never dated a second lieutenant. And I'm off that weekend. Yes, I will go."
Okay, we'll see what I can do. So pretty soon he come back and he said, "Okay," and the military ball was coming up. He said, "How about a date for a military ball?" I said, "Okay, all right with me." The ball was scheduled and everything, and the girls did their hookup like she was talking about. But state of Mississippi has something like 36 miles of Gulf frontage on the Gulf of Mexico. It's very narrow. The state is wider than that, but because of the shape of the state and all, and it's all sandy beaches. Well, in that 36 miles, there was no place that black people were permitted on the beach. So, coincidentally, they scheduled a demonstration on the beach during the same weekend that the military ball was to take place.
April 1959. Can you believe that late? It's
So,
still in allowed.
So he said, "Okay, everybody is restricted to the base unless you go out of town for the weekend, like New Orleans or Mobile. And if you're caught participating in any of that shenanigans down there, you're going to be court-martialed." Well, took care of that. So I call the girls and say, ball's called off. We'll come over there for the weekend. So we go over there for the weekend, and we go to Monya Kay was his date at that time, and pick up Monya Kay, and she was working at the airlines at the time,
Airport.
At the airport ticket counter, and Monya Kay had gotten her first pair of contact lenses that very day, and she was still wearing them like 7 o'clock in the evening or something like that, which is a no-no. You first start out, you only 3 or 4 hours. So she was tearing something fierce, you know. So we pull up in front of the door by the counter where she was working, and I could see her in there, and she was not in her counter uniform, if you will, civilian clothes. And I said, well, is that her? And she's going, I can't see her. I don't know. She said, she's pretty cute. She's got dark hair, a good figure. Is that her? I don't know if that's her. I can't see. I said, well, if it ain't her, it's gonna be, by damn. And went in, and sure enough, it was her. And so we got in the car and had a date for the weekend. And that was the last blind date I ever had.
Huh.
And by the end of the weekend, it was, because I proposed to him, when we get married. So I liked him pretty much.
So what were some of the places that you went on your dates for the weekend?
That weekend we went to a real nice seafood place. It was on Lake Pontchartrain, and had a seafood dinner. And then, since this military ball had been planned for a weekend long thing, Saturday, the next day, we split, since she had a car, and I had ridden over there with Lee in his car. And Lee and his date went on wherever, and so she was kind of stuck with me. And so we went to, we met about lunchtime, I guess, because we went to the Canal Bank Inn and went for dinner. Now, like I said, I grew up in Ohio. There's not much seafood in Ohio, okay? And New Orleans is a big seafood town. So she said, and I'm dressed up in a powder blue suit that day. So, so I show up, and she picks me up, and we go over, and she said, well, where do you want to go for lunch? And I said, I don't know anything about New Orleans. I said, any place you want to go is fine with me. So she says, well, we'll go to a little neighborhood place, Canal Bank Inn. And do you eat seafood? Yeah, I eat anything. I didn't care what she wanted. I was with her.
She had the car.
Yeah, she had the car, and I was very much enamored with her, so I was going to do whatever she wanted to do. So we go over to the restaurant, and the Canal Bank, there were several places. New Orleans, if you weren't aware, is below sea level.
Most of it, yeah.
And they have big levees along the Mississippi River to hold the river back from the city, and pumping stations and so on. But alongside the levee, which they call the Canal Bank, there were several neighborhood kind of hangout things and restaurants. There's usually restaurant bar together, and in the evenings they had a band and dance and so on. So we go into the Canal Bank Inn and find a seat, and she says, well, what do you want to eat? I said, I don't know much about seafood. Whatever you want will be fine with me. She says, well, how about crabs? I said, okay. And crayfish. Okay.
What's
So,
a crayfish?
Yeah.
And I said, no, it's a crawfish.
Yeah, see, in Ohio they only get about that big, and they use them for fish bait. But in New Orleans they get much bigger.
I said,
So-
I'll show you how to eat them.
Yeah, the girl comes to the table. She ordered whatever, a dozen or something of the crabs and so many pounds of the other. She comes over here with a serving tray about so big around and plunks these two things down. They're boiled, red,
Eyeballs looking at you.
and they sat on the plate, especially the crayfish, with their eyes looking at you. And of course, the crabs are in a similar circumstance. There's blue crabs.
Make or break a relationship.
Yeah. So
It was a test.
I'm looking at these things on the plate, and before she set it down, she came over and had newspapers. She spread newspapers. Table was about this big square. They spread newspapers all over the table. And then so then she brought the plates over and sat them down, and I'm sitting here looking at the things, and they're looking back at me with their dead eyes. What the hell did I get into?
Hopefully dead.
Yeah, so she
that
goes over there with her hands. She's got a crab and she's busting it open and eating the crab, and I'm sitting there watching.
I said, well, let me show you how to do
then
this.
I said, I don't know how to eat them
I'll
things.
show you.
Well, I'll show you. So she's showing how to eat it, and I ate very little of it, but you know.
I did pick some meat for you too, though.
Yeah, she not only showed me how, because I was going so slow, and she was 10 crabs ahead of me, kind of thing.
It's a surprisingly labor-intensive meal.
It is.
Yeah.
You burn calories while you're
Yes.
eating.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for not a lot of payout.
No.
Yeah, that's right.
But-
And you can't get full. I don't care if you sit there for an hour, you can't get full. You're eating as fast as you can.
In my family, when they boil crabs, you know, they would boil corn and they would boil potatoes in the
Like
sauce.
side dishes and
Yeah.
stuff.
And it
Sauce.
was
In the
more-
same water.
And it was more of a ritual kind of thing.
Yeah.
You sit around the table and just pick your crabs and eat and drink your Dixie beer, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So I was sharing with him what my family liked to do, you know.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
I don't know what we did that evening. Do you
I don't know.
remember?
Did you go
Remember that?
dancing?
Next day was Sunday, and we went to Lake Pontchartrain, and there was a big amusement park
yeah,
there.
used to have.
And we went to the amusement park
And laid out on the
spent-
beach.
laid
you
on
know.
the beach and in the swimming pool and so on.
No,
We
you
didn't
swam
swim
in
in the lake.
In
we
the
swam
lake,
in
yes,
the
we
pool.
were. The lake.
And then that was,
Yeah.
like I said, that was the last wine date I ever had. After that, whenever I was like, and